I just thought I'd make a quick video about insulating my garage because I couldn't find anything on YouTube about the way I've done it. I've overboarded over my joists. Now the reason I insulated my garage to start with, there's two reasons. One is obviously to keep it warm, not so much warmer, but to stop the sudden temperature changes. If it's a cold morning then it turns into a hot day, you tend to get condensation in a garage. Kind of like when you take a cold bottle of beer out the fridge on a summer's day and it gets a condensation on the outside. So hopefully the insulation will stop that. And the other reason I done it was the noise. I spend a lot of time in my garage messing about with cars, talking to cameras, and I don't want my neighbours to hear me chunting on in the garage. So that's the reason I'm insulating my garage. Now, like I say, everyone normally says to insulate between the joists, and then some people say to overboard after. That's more for like a house. This is a garage. So I've gone for the quickest and easiest way I would think of insulating the garage. So let's spin this camera around. Right, so as you can see, this bit of the garage roof is done. I've still got a little bit to do here, and this is literally just boarded straight on top of the joists. You can see here how thick the joists were. You see there between the felt here, that's how thick the joists were. I think it was about 200 milli, and I've put 50 milli board straight on the top of the joist, just screw it straight on. I'm also going to do in between the rafters up here. So the screws I'm using to hold the boards to the roof are these. These are 5 by 80, so they're 5 millimeters thick by 80 milli long. The insulation is 50 milli thick. So I'm getting about 30 milli into the wood, like to hold the insulation on. And I'm also putting these special washers. I'll leave a link to everything below, but these are special washers to hold insulation board up. So you literally just drop your screw onto there. Then you get your screwdriver, put your screw in the insulation, then screw it like that. Literally absolute piece of cake to put the boards to the joists. And like I say, because I went for overboarding, it is easier and quicker, I'm guessing, than cutting each individual board to get between the joists. I've just put them straight over all the joists and screwed them up into place. One thing I did learn is, what I should have done, as I was boarding it, I should have put the tape. This is like a foil tape. This goes in where you've joined the two boards together. I wish I'd done this as I was going, because what I'd done was I put all the boards up, then I had nowhere to put my ladders, so I've had to stand on some rickety old ladders, right? I've had to stand on these rickety old ladders right at the top, and they're wobbling all over, and I'm shaking like a shitting dog at the top of these ladders, putting the foil tape up. I wish I'd foil taped it as I'd gone. So there's a tip. If you're putting the boards up, foil tape as you go. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to pull this car out and I'm going to finish the insulation at the top, and I'll show you how I do it. By the way as well, if you do it, you must have an air gap to let air flow between your insulation, or you will end up with condensation in between the insulation and you felt like your tiles. So you must leave an air gap, minimum 50 milli. I've got 200 milli, so it's more than enough for what I need. So the side bits here are overboarded, but in the very top bit here, I'm going in between the joists, because in the future I want to get a car lift here so I can lift cars up. And if I'm overboarded on the top, I'm going to lose 2 inches. And you know, fellas, every little inch counts. So overboarded at the sides here, then in the middle I'm going to go in between the joists. When measuring, it's important to measure in a couple of different places, because no house is built square, and you'll find there might be just 1/4 inch difference from one place to the next. So I've found 3 ways of cutting the board. I've used a saw, which is great for like your little cuts. If you want a big long straight cut, I found the best way for that is to use a circular saw. There's 2 ways of doing it with the circular saw. The first way is, if you put a bit of old board underneath, you can then zap through. Your saw won't hit the floor. Or the other way you can set your height. The board, this particular board is 50mm board, so you can set your height on the saw by pulling this little lever. Then you can move this bit up and down. So if you set it to about 45mm, you can then cut the board like this, and you don't touch the floor, and then you just lift it up, and you can just snap it and run a saw like a Stanley knife blade, and then you can just run a Stanley knife blade or a saw just down the back there, and that gives you a nice straight cut. So like I said, I found 3 ways: the saw, the circular saw set at just maximum depth, like that, or you can lift it up to a bit shy of your board and cut straight in the floor without risk of chopping your floor. I try to make my boards like a snug fit, snug enough so when I tap it with the palm of my hand, they just tap into place. If you're doing this job, you must use the foil tape. It's very important and it makes a big difference to the end result. Right, so if we go up the ladders, I'll show you what it looks like from the other side of the insulation. Right, I've got 2 panels left to do. I've got one to go in here, one to go in here, then I'm going to put something here. So in the roof space, you can see how I've done it. This is the panel, and I've kind of put it in between the joists and just taped it in place. See the tape there? But here, you can see how much of a gap I've got. I mean, that is easily plenty of space for ventilation to stop condensation forming. And under the felt here, we've got the tiles. There's a tile there. There's one of the tiles. When you're doing your foil tape, right, you'll cut a length off. Like that, cut a length off. Now, as you're sticking it, well, I'll just take this, take the backing off. So as you're sticking it to your roof, just peel it off a little bit at a time, like that. Kind of stick it up, because what will happen is, if you peel it off too much, if I pull the back off loads, what's your tape? It just all rolls up, and then it just sticks together, it starts ripping, turns into a nightmare. So when you're doing your foil tape, just do a little bit at a time and pull the backing off as you go. Also, the tape will hide a lot of sins, like a lot of mistakes. It just makes the job look a lot nicer when you put the tape on. And it is literally like tin foil. I'm not sure how well the camera will pick it up, but you can literally, it is like foil, like what you wrap your cheese sandwiches in. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can, I will leave all the links to the foil and the screws what I use in the description of this video. So you'll notice where the side of the roof meets the top, like the ceiling, meets the sides there, it's kind of curved. So what I've done was, this is my flat panel, all the way up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it along here. So what I do is I get this bit of wood as a straight edge, and I put it on my joists, like that. Then I just get this chisel with a sharp point, and I'm just going to score a line, like that. Then with this saw, I'm going to hold it perfectly straight. I'm going to cut into that score mark I've done with the chisel. Like I say, you must keep the saw straight because you're going to put a panel up against this edge, so it does need to be straight. It's no good if having your saw at an angle like that. Keep it straight, 90 degrees exactly. Pop through with that saw. There we go.
Following the line, best we can.
And we'll spin it round. Come back towards us. And like I say, saw is perfectly straight. Get rid of that. So the reason I kept the saw perfectly straight is when I put my next panel in, I'm going to get a nice gap and a nice seal there. Can you see? I don't want the gap like that. I want it nice and straight like that. So we've got one more bit to do in that square, then this front half of the garage is done. Right, take that over, we'll use that as a bench. So there we have it, fellas, done. I've even managed to do the back half here. That's overboarded as well, the majority of it. It did get a bit fiddly in this back corner. I've also fitted a little heater in the garage there. I used 20 boards exactly to do the full garage. This garage is about just over 11 metres long and about 3.5 to 4 metres wide. Right, I am over the moon with how it's turned out. If you've got any hints, tips or advice, leave them in the comments for other people. Someone might find it useful. The garage, since I've insulated it, it is holding the heat a lot better and there's less noise coming in from outside. So I'm guessing there's a lot less noise from inside the garage as well going out. But like I say, if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.